Hey gaming crew, welcome to my top 3 games of August 2018. If you'd like to listen to the previous month's podcast, you'll find the link in the description below. Please note, this is my top 3 list out of all the games I played throughout the month. It does not include games that I played before 2018. The criteria I used is arbitrarily ranked with an arbitrary rating system and solely reflects my preferences. If you have a list of games that you enjoyed, that's great! Let me know in the comments below. If you think I'm wrong about a game I like and that I should have liked something else, please move along. This is my list and not yours. And with that, let's get going with August 2018. I'm going to write out and say that tile-laying farm games were all the rage for a while. A long while. There was one designer who made this happen. I blame him for all of them. But there comes a time when even the designer gets tired of farming and turns to fishing. Yes, a fishing game is my third favorite game of August. What is it, you ask? Newsfjord. Newsfjord is a game designed by Uwe Rosenberg and published by Mayfair Games. It hosts from 1 to 5 players aged 12 or older and lasts from 20 to 100 minutes. Yes, Uwe Rosenberg, the designer who brought Agricola, Caverna, A Feast for Odin, and several other tile-laying games to the public. Newsfjord is very similar, but you're not running a farm this time. You're piloting fishing boats, feeding elders, building structures to help with your fishing, and collecting shares from other players. In the game, your goal is to get the most points in order to win, as is the case with many games. You do this by collecting fish. To put it simply, fish are your currency. You have to feed your elders, pay shares, and then you're able to add them to your board. But they are not available until you move them to your supply. Throughout the game, you're also collecting other resources such as wood and gold. These resources, including the fish, are used to buy buildings that you place on your board. Fish are collected during the fishing phase, which is where you pay your shares and your elders in fish. The work phase is the action selection portion of the game. This is where players take turns using actions on the main board, a la Agricola, activating elders or passing. In the event a player can't take an action, they must pass. If you pass and you have an option open to you on your next turn, you can still take an action. Once everyone has passed, the first player marker is handed to the next player, and the new round begins with the fishing phase. One of the actions you can take is to build a ship. This allows you to increase the size of your fishing vessel, and thus bring in more fish each turn. Another is to construct a building that gives you special benefits. Some buildings provide end-of-game scoring or instant scoring when they're built. Elders are acquired, and as soon as you place an elder on your board, you may take its action without placing a worker. These give you repeatable action spaces you can use on each turn. After 7 rounds, the game ends and scoring begins. You receive points for building ships, shares, and gold. You lose points for empty spaces on your board and for unissued shares. The player with the most points wins. While this game isn't as complex as A Feast for Odin or as punishing as Agricola, it has a lot of fun elements to it. Just like in Agricola, you're fighting for the same action spaces, and there's a copy action space available to help with lack of actions. The tile laying and forest removal are similar to what you'd find in Glass Road, and everything makes for a fun worker placement tableau building game. Definitely a game I suggest you try. Aren't all of these? And pick up if you enjoy Uwe Rosenberg's games. Number 2 on the list was a surprise find. I saw it being played at a local convention called DollarCon, and was drawn in by how complex it looked. The board was large and modular, there were small cylinders and cubes everywhere, and it was based on a place in Japan that I'd like to visit at some point in my life. The game is Yokohama. Yokohama is a game designed by Hisashi Hayashi and published by Tasty Minstrel Games. It hosts from 2 to 4 players aged 12 or older and lasts 90 minutes. This game was a wow game the first moment I saw it. I happened upon a copy at my FLGS, favorite local gaming store, and decided to purchase it. I've only played it a handful of times, but it's become one of the games that people request when we get together. It's that fun. The game takes place in Yokohama, as you might have guessed, and you are a president traveling around the city in order to obtain resources. These resources are used to complete shipping contracts, which provide you with victory points, crates, money, worker placement, worker hires, and other benefits. In addition, every technology and contract provide you with a foreign flag. At the end of the game, you gain points if you have sets of these flags, or as many different flags as you can get. In addition to moving around the board, you are able to build on a space if you have enough influence there. If the number of your components, president, cubes, and buildings, is 4 or 5, then you can build a storefront or a trading house. These grant you bonuses in terms of victory points, free hires, resources, crates, etc. The majority of the spaces is dedicated to obtaining resources or shipping contracts. There are a few, however, that provide you with more benefit. The first is victory points at the end of the game. The second is a resource, a hire, or money. In addition to contracts, you can also buy technological upgrades, which let you break the basic rules in small ways. There are a few that let you move through another player's president without having to pay money or to move anywhere you wish on the board. These are pretty powerful effects that you are trying to obtain before anyone else. To curb the mad rush for technology, players eventually end up paying for more techs at an increasing amount. This deters players from constantly taking technologies and adds a bit of balance to the game. Once someone has built all of their trading houses, all of their stores, when attempting to refill contracts and you can't, when 5 to 6 assistants have been placed in the church, or when 5 to 6 assistants have been placed in the customs house, the game ends after the round is fully finished. You then move to the endgame scoring, and the one who has the most points at the end of the game is the winner. This is a really fun worker placement game with a modular board that changes from game to game. The way the presidents move around the board makes for some interesting methods of linking spaces together with assistants, and the overall theme fits very, very well. I highly suggest this game if you like complex worker placement games. I'm looking forward to my next play already. The number one game for August is another science fiction game about colonizing worlds. It's a successor to Terra Mystica, and, in my opinion, is much, much better. The number one game for this month is Gaia Project. Gaia Project is a game designed by Jens Drogelmuller and Helge Ostertag. Apologies for mispronunciations. It's published by Z-Men Games. The game hosts from 1 to 4 players, aged 14 or older, and lasts from 60 to 150 minutes. This game is really complex. You're keeping track of a bunch of things in order to better colonize the galaxy. You're building mines, upgrading them, and upgrading those buildings. You're working on research tracks, trying to get to the top before the other players. You're working on power distribution, which fuels a lot of actions you can take. You're also gearing up to form a federation with your colonies. There is a lot going on. If you've played Terra Mystica, it's a little more complex, as you keep track of tech levels, everyone's power output, and their colonized planets. The number of factions you can choose from is rather high at 14. With the game handling up to 4 players, there is a lot of replayability. Each faction has their own abilities, which further enhances the game each time it's played. There are round boosters which give you extra actions, resources, and other benefits. The galaxy map can also be randomized, so it's very rare for any 2 games to be the same. Tech tiles spice up your gameplay and provide more opportunities to collect victory points, and round scoring tiles expand that replayability even more. The game is overwhelming to think about in a short write-up like this. The main thing you need to take away is that Gaia Project is a complex area control action selection game with variable player powers, modular board, and many different methods to gain victory points. The good thing is that it's not an aggressive game where you attack other players. Blocking them in to one section of the map isn't an easy thing to do either, especially if the player's travel range is pretty high. Honestly, I've only played the game a few times. I really enjoyed the experience far more than Terra Mystica, though this is a pretty heavy game. If you're into area control games that are non-combat related and keeping track of different elements of a game, I would highly suggest this. If you're more of a casual player who doesn't like overly complex or long games, you may want to pass this one by. But don't take my word for it. If you get the opportunity to play this game, go for it. I, for one, enjoyed it very much. And there you have it, the top 3 games I played in August 2018. I hope you enjoyed this podcast and that I may have inspired you to play some or all of these games, or at least to try one of the 3 I've mentioned here. Look forward to the next top 3 very soon. Until then, game on! And as always, this is Excalibur, and I am out.